Okay.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome all of you to the City Council special meeting of Tuesday, August 13th. Call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The minutes will be considered at a meeting later this month. So we'll start open with public comment. If anyone in the audience would like to make public comment, when you come up, please give your mailing address and your name. And remember to be kind and respectful and keep it under 3 minutes. So is there anyone that would like to make public comment in the audience? Come on up.
Hi, thank you. My name is Steve Wake. PO Box 1051, Cannon Beach, Oregon 97110. So I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about changing part of the code that has to do with the residential and recreational fires at each individual's home. What I've been experiencing this summer and last summer, this has been an ongoing thing actually with some of the properties around me, is that these recreational fires that are lit quite often, the smoke from them travels right into my home, into my backyard, as well as my neighbors' backyards, and make it so that we can't enjoy our property. The smoke is so thick that I have to close up my windows, my doors at night, even during summer nights, or else the house fills with smoke because of the predominant breeze that comes out of the northwest. So I understand that there is some code audit committees going on that are looking at changing different parts of the code after the code audit took place. And what I'm proposing is that we not allow any more yard waste burning and household trash burning at residences. Right now, under 808, that's allowed. There is a permit required for that. I'm not sure about the household waste, but there is a permit required for yard waste burning. But there isn't a permit required for any of the recreational fires. There are restrictions, of course, for the recreational fires. I think it's 3 feet by 3 feet in any direction. And then there are restrictions on what can be burned, but it talks about the smoke not being noxious when it's being burned, but all smoke is noxious. Secondhand smoke, even from something as innocuous sounding as leaves, is carcinogen. So I'd like to see that either permitted or greatly restricted. And then I'd like to see the yard waste and the household waste burning go away completely. We have weekly pickup for garbage. We have every other week pickup for recycling. We have the facility on East 2nd that takes yard waste without any cost to any of the residents. They can also do their recycling there. Smoke pollution is different than the pollution that, just litter, like a garbage sack, a McDonald's sack, or somebody throwing a diaper into the bushes, because that you can just pick up and throw away. But with the smoke, you have to ingest it. In order to breathe, it needs to be ingested, and that is noxious. And I believe that a reasonable person would say that the smoke is so uncomfortable for my neighbors and I that it deprives us of our use of our property, whether it's indoors or outdoors. And I have failed to get the police to act on any of the noxious or it being a nuisance. They said that has to be significant, and I submit that not being able to use my property and my neighbors not being able to use their property is a significant nuisance. Also, I gave some of the same comments to the short-term rental committee, the short-term rental task force rather, that was put together last year, and I had 5 or 6 pages of petition signers that Rusty entered into the comments. So I not only speak for myself, but my neighbors as well. One of my neighbors has asthma. My grandson has asthma, and it's triggered smoke. I think it should be just as much fun to live here as it is to visit here. And I think that this quality of life issue is important to many who live here. I think it's ironic that the folks that visit here and are the predominant lighters of the fires, which is, I think, the short-term rental units. They get kind of zealous about being able to light a fire. They come from areas where there are triple-digit temperatures and air pollution, and the first thing they want to do is come here and, it seems like, light a fire and take that away. As well, it is Wildlife Fire Awareness Month. So besides the smoke being a nuisance, it's also very important that we keep the danger down from having the trees and the areas go up in smoke. We're not immune from that here in Cannon Beach. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's his name? Steve Wade.
Anyone else in the audience like to make public comment? Les?
Leslie Claire, PO Box 1394, Cannon Beach. Mayor and council, I'd like to make comments on a couple of your items tonight. One, I wanted to make a public comment concerning Mr. Orloff's application to the Planning Commission. And this is in no way a reflection on his character or qualifications. I simply feel it's inappropriate for a practicing architect who does bring projects in front of the Planning Commission to be a part of the Planning Commission. I've read the statements, the support statements that were part of the packet. Yeah, he may have only brought one or two cases to us in the last year, but the past doesn't say what the future is going to be. I just think a person who has to recuse himself and know that that's going to be a case is not the best person for being on the Planning Commission. Once he decides to retire, I think he'll be great, but I don't believe it's the appropriate person for right now. So the other one was almost a question more than it is a statement. I know personally that our NACU school and City Hall and Police Department projects have been delayed. I know there's been questions about how we can finance them, what we should do to finance them. I'm not quite sure what all of the background and all of the different situation is. And I guess my question would be, I'd like to see something from the city helping us, the part of the community who do want to see these projects go forward. Where do we stand? I don't honestly know what options have been discussed. I don't know if we've got any options to move forward. I hate to think that all we can do is sit here and wait and let what I believe is a small group of people have control over something that a much larger group of people want. Anyway, so it's a request. If we can possibly move forward, let's do it. And I don't have any idea what that means, but you have my support. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience?
Thanks, Les.
Is there anyone on Zoom? Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to make public comment? If you would raise your hand, please. No one? Okay, one more time for the audience. And the last offer for anyone on Zoom. Okay, thank you. So we will move to our first action item, which is initiative 2024-1. And our election official, Jen, will give us a staff report.
Hey, on June 12th, 2024, three chief petitioners filed a prospective initiative petition with the city's election official to propose a ballot measure that would amend the Cannon Beach City Charter to require a public vote on large debt projects. On June 19th, the elections official reviewed the initiative text and provided written notice to the chief petitioners that the text complied with the Oregon constitutional requirements. On June 20th, the election official sent the initiative petition text to the attorney's office and requested the office draft a ballot title. On June 27th, the city received the ballot title from the city attorney's office and posted to the city's website. It was published in the next edition of the Astoria newspaper, which was June 29th. The ballot title received no challenges and became final. On July 16th, an authorized agent of the chief petitioner submitted to the city's election official a cover sheet and signature sheet for review and approval. On July 19th, the elections official requested revisions to the cover and signature sheets. On July 18th, the elections official received the revised cover and signature sheets and confirmed the chief petitioner set up a petition committee and filed a statement of organization with the state elections division. The elections official provided written approval to circulate the revised documents per CV Municipal Code 1.08 initiative and referendum. The number of required signatures is 124. From the approval date of July 18th, petitioners had 2 years to gather enough signatures and submit to the city for verification. On July 24th, elections official received the signature sheets with more than the required number of signatures and submitted them to Clatsop County for verification. On August 7th, Clatsop County verified the petitioners met the number of signatures required. Okay. So now the initiative petition has the required number of signatures and is qualified for the May 2025 election. This staff report files the initiative measure with the city council, meeting the requirements of ORS 250.235. No later than 30 days after this evening, which would be September 12th, the council must review the measure and decide how it wants to address it. Options for the council are listed below. The city council can take no action. The measure would be submitted to voters in the May 2025 election. The council can adopt/approve the measure. Because the measure seeks to amend the city's charter, the measure must still be approved by voters prior to taking effect. The council can reject the measure. The council can reject the measure, but the city is still required to submit the measure to city voters at the May 2025 election. If approved by voters, this measure will take effect. The council can reject the measure and offer a competing measure to the ballot. The competing measure must be prepared no later than 30 days after the initiative was filed with the governing body and must be featured in the same election as the initiated measure. The deadline for the completed measure is September 12th. So where we're at tonight is if the council wishes to refer a competing measure to the ballot for the May 2025 election, staff recommends that the council delegate authority to Mayor Knott to work with the city staff and prepare a ballot title for the council's consideration. So then once that would happen, it would come back to council for a vote on the ballot title, and then we would file it. And all of that has to be completed by September 12th to be eligible.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Who would like to start our
Well,
discussion?
I would like to see us reject the measure and file a competing measure. I think it's really important that we do this. I read through the measure and I think that as it's written, it would affect cities throughout the entire state of Oregon in a very negative way. It would mean that projects that, like things like the Water Resiliency Project, could not be done without a vote, which is what a representative government is supposed to be. We've been elected to represent the people of Cannon Beach and make these kinds of decisions. And I think that unless it's a measure that actually requires a raise in taxes for individuals, which does have to go to a vote, I think that the delegation of authority to the city council is a legitimate delegation. And I think it's really important that we file a competing measure that sets forth all those issues.
Okay. Who would like to go next?
Are you going to make a motion to that?
Well, I thought there'd be some more discussion.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. I agree with everything you've said, so I think could be a real threat to anything that the city would like to do to improve I think the water resiliency project is an excellent example that much needed projects and everything costs more than $5 million nowadays, so. And I'm also concerned that the initiative really doesn't explain what it's supposed to do. It isn't a very clearly stated petition, especially as a charter amendment. So I'm very concerned about that.
I agree with everything that's been said. I think it would handcuff the city on major projects. Really, the effect it's gonna have is delays, increased costs, but also sending, I think, unnecessarily complex issues to voters where we sit here for I don't know how many hours, sometimes studying these things and analyzing and understanding implications of things and understanding funding sources. And to present that to the community for these projects just doesn't seem appropriate. And I mean, we could acknowledge what this really is. It's a way to stop the construction projects that we've been working on for 10 years. I mean, that's really what this is about. So I agree. We need a competing measure and I don't know if anybody knows of any other city that imposes this kind of restriction.
Yeah, I think it sort of goes against the grain of almost every city in the state of Oregon. I mean, I can't say that, I guess maybe Emily would have more information on that, but
And I have no idea what a competing measure would look like, but I would trust the mayor to work with city staff to do this.
and help with attorneys too for it.
Right.
City attorney, I think it's that they are part of that discussion.
And yes, nothing about rejecting this measure doesn't mean that if there's an increase in property taxes, that it's not perfectly appropriate that goes to the voters. But when we're working on projects that with existing revenues and sometimes grants,
And
million
low cost.
plus dollar grants from Business Oregon.
And low cost loans too. Yeah, it's just,
And it would jeopardize those grants and those loans because those loans require a certain amount of time. They give you a deadline to meet, to do the project. If we are waiting for a vote in the November or May election, even a special election in March or September.
yeah, so pull their loan. I mean, why would they bother with that? When there's plenty of other jurisdictions that would love to have that money.
Yeah.
So.
Brendan, would you like to weigh in?
I just want to know, as this is written in our packet, the proposed initiative, that's exactly the way it will appear on the ballot.
The language that's in the actual initiative,
Section 38.
yes.
Yes.
That is-
No debt shall be incurred contrary to municipal budget law or other relevant state law. All non-emergency debts, bonds, or financing agreements over the debt approval level must have a vote of the people. Debt approval level is defined as 50% of government activity revenues for the most recent year's published audited financial statement. Project elements may not be disaggregated to avoid the debt limit referral level. Individual projects must be approved separately, but may be aggregated for bond issuance. And if anybody can make sense of that, I'd be happy to have them inform me what they think that means.
Exactly.
I'm
I don't have a clue really what it
And all of this based just on this alone, that anybody trying to get something passed would put something this convoluted before voters, I think speaks to something other than what is really trying to have.
Well, it's a hope that it'll be so confusing that people will just accept it without even realizing what it says or doesn't say,
Exactly.
you know? I mean, that's it. Confuse, confuse, confuse.
Well, I agree with everything that has been said also. So if anyone would like to make a motion,
I move that we reject the ballot measure and file a competing measure.
Second.
you want to specify what election?
Oh, what, I don't have my papers.
The May
in front of me.
20,
In the May 2025 election. And what's the number on the ballot measure again? They're reject which ballot measure? I want the number of it.
I-2024-1.
I-2024-1.
And I still second.
and,
Okay.
okay, Brandon, second. Any further discussion?
Sorry to interrupt. It would be helpful if we got direction that the mayor should work with city staff on drafting the competing measure as well.
Does that need to be in the same motion or a separate motion?
I don't think it matters. It can be in the same motion, but it can also be a separate motion, but we need that direction.
And also that the mayor work with city staff and a city attorney to draft the competing ballot measure.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Could we hear that?
Yeah. Lisa moved to reject the ballot title measure I-2024-1 and file a competing measure at the May 2025 election, and the mayor to work with city staff and city attorney to draft the competing ballot measure.
Bruce, you had a question?
I just had a question whether that was one or two motions.
It's one
One motion.
motion. So any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councillor Kerr,
Yes.
Councillor Overview,
Yes.
Council President McCarthy,
Yes.
Councillor Hayes,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you, elections official. Okay, so next item on the agenda is appointment of a city committee or board commission. We have one vacancy on the planning commission and the applicant is Jay Orloff. He is in the audience. Would you like to come on up and say a few words?
Thank you for your time tonight. I'm here in a professional capability for the planning board. We have two commissioners, or a commission and a design review board with no professional architectural representation on it. The city making some major decisions in planning and design. And I am here to offer my professional capabilities in doing so. I'm willing to address the elephant in the room and the fact that, yes, there may be a time that I may have to recuse myself. But there has also been times in which planning members have personally had to recuse themselves for personal bias. So we're not just looking at a professional bias, but also personal bias, which at times I will have to address. But the number of times, as I noted in my application, is very minimal in comparison to what is brought in front of the commission. I do not apply or look for variances in a fashion. My standards are very high and such. And knowing the code, knowing the direction that the city is looking to go towards, limit myself in what I do bring in front of the planning commission. So in that aspect, I feel the amount of work that I'd be able to do and give in my professional capability to the commission is greater than that of my personal career. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. This is my third time in front of this city council. I may be a glutton for punishment, but I feel very strongly in my ability to serve this community in a professional way other than in my career. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have of me at this time.
How close are you to retirement?
20 years plus. 10 and 11-year-old, not gonna happen. I'd say.
Other questions?
It just seems to me that you have been before the council and before the planning commission on several different proposals. And I know that you've said that it was only 2 this year and 2 last year, but it just seems like it's been more than that.
No, I actually went back in my records and looked up. This year it was for a setback variance for the Sea Lark apartments. And the other one was at the same time for a setback reduction for an ADU that we're trying to avoid a tree. The ones last year, I don't know off the top of my head. The year before was absolutely 0. I think I've been pulling permits in this city for 18 plus years. And I could probably count on less than 2 hands, how many times I've brought things in front of the planning. Like I say, my standards are very high. I have turned down people asking me to ask for variances and such because I don't feel there is a necessity or they don't have a good backing for it. And that's something that I take seriously in my profession. I'm not here to waste people's time. I'll only bring something that I feel is a worthwhile investment, not only of my time, but of the cities as well.
If you were appointed to the planning commission and then you discovered there really was several times where you were going to have to recuse yourself, would you of leaving the planning commission?
I would take that in consideration, but I'd have to look at, to what extent.
Because we don't know what the future's.
Right, yeah, are we looking at 6 times a year? Yeah, that's more than half the sessions. 4 times a year? No, probably not. I would like to stay on, I would feel I would still provide professional capability on the board.
Lisa, did you have a question?
Not a question. I just have something I'd like to say, but not a question.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions for Jay? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take your consideration.
Okay, now we're ready for discussion.
Okay, well, first of all, we're not talking about personal bias. We're talking about a conflict of interest, which is actually a much more serious issue. It means that somebody has a pecuniary or a financial interest in the outcome of a certain decision. So I'm not aware of anyone who's actually not made a decision because of personal bias on at least not in my tenure on the council or in the 8 years I was on the planning commission. But people have been recused because of having a potential financial interest in the outcome of a decision. And I really feel strongly about this. I'm afraid that Mr. Orloff will not be able to avoid self-interest in many of the decisions that will come before the Planning Commission in the next couple of years. While it is true that he may have been directly involved with only 2 decisions over the last year, there are many decisions that council makes, including joint commissions, that would affect his Cannon Beach business directly or indirectly, such as zoning changes, code changes, housing issues, tree protection, wetland protection, to name a few. These issues before the Planning Commission would indirectly affect his ability to participate in questions involving property development in the city. Even if he was able to somehow miraculously compartmentalize every single decision he made, there's an appearance of fairness, which is very important. And I think it would be compromise trust in the Planning Commission severely if somebody with a direct financial interest in the business of the city was to be part of those decisions. And then I realized that he had the endorsement of 2 members of the Planning Commission, but I would like to address the issues raised in those endorsements. One stated that we need more diversity on the Planning Commission. Well, right now we have 2 members involved in real estate development. We have 1 hotel owner. We have 1 attorney. We have 1 engineer and we have one retired corporate attorney. That is already quite diverse, but it would seem to be even more diverse if we had someone involved in the nonprofit environmental sector. That's what would make it more diverse, rather than all these businesses. So, or somebody who is not involved in development. Second, there was a mention of diversity of ages, that we need more age diversity on the planning commission. Well, we have members ranging from the ages of their 40s to their 60s now. What do you want? We have to have people in their 70s. We have to have people in their 30s. We already have quite a diverse range of ages on the planning commission. So I think that what more age diversity would Mr. Orloff bring to the table? I just really feel like once Mr. Orloff retires, then I think he'd be a great asset to the planning commission. But right now, I think it would really be detrimental to the appearance of fairness, and it would not be an appropriate choice.
Well, Lisa, I served 8 years on the planning commission. The entire time I was involved as a contractor. I stand to benefit from all of those same things that you've just said. And I never felt like once that clouded my ability to be able to make a cogent decision for planning decisions.
How many times did you go before the planning commission with an application?
I think those are two separate arguments. You made an argument that even though he may have to recuse himself, he, by virtue of being an architect, stands to benefit from the decision
true.
being made. Well, those are all the same things true of myself as well, but I don't feel like that clouded my ability to make a decision and move forward, just because I'm in an industry that stands to benefit from
Well,
changes, and I just feel different.
I know, I understand that, but I just see what you do somehow as a private contractor who does jobs for people in the community. And you don't ask for variances, you don't ask for, setback reductions, you don't ask for conditional use permits. So I see a difference between an individual private contractor like yourself and somebody who's doing major business in this community.
But yet I have been involved in making decisions that you, as you stated, could potentially benefit me financially.
Yeah, well, I think you've done a remarkable job of
Well, I just
separating,
feel like- I know.
compartmentalizing.
And so what I'm trying to say is that I see someone that does something similar to what I do. I value what they bring to the table from a professional standpoint. I know somebody that served on design review for many terms, turned out at least once, maybe twice, was an architect.
Doing
And
business in the community and designing buildings in the community.
yes,
Well, I think for the planning commission, it's even more of an issue because there are code audits, code changes going through. And I know that Mr. Orloff has been outspoken on those code changes, and I see those as directly that the stance he's taken is one that just maybe coincidentally benefits his business. But that is how I see it, and I'm sorry, and I certainly don't mean to insult anybody, and I don't mean to denigrate anybody's reputation at all. I'm just
no, I
saying
don't
that
think you've done that at all. I just wanted to
feel-
offer what I feel to be a different opinion.
Yeah, okay, let's appreciate that.
Anyone else weigh in?
I think I'm a little closer to Brandon with not being as concerned. I mean, to have a voice with this kind of experience, I don't necessarily see as a bad thing. And I think it's a little bit of a stretch to talk about the direct financial gain. So I don't see the
No, I think the potential is,
disqualifying.
potential is there. And I think, you know, I feel, I really agree with what Mr. Sinclair said when he got up and spoke about it. I think it's the same, I think it's a big issue.
Well, it's really a toss up for me. I mean, really, I can see both sides. And I guess I'm just concerned more about his involvement in so many different types of proposals that he has brought up before the planning commission, the city council, but at the same time, his standards, he says his standards are high and I have to believe him. And if I were in his place, I would be like with Brandon, it would not make that kind of a difference to me, but I don't know. I mean, I'm
I think it's a
waiting.
little different when someone comes before the planning commission on numerous occasions asking for setback reductions, variances, and conditional uses. I think that changes it. And I don't think Brandon was ever in that position. So, I mean, and I don't want to make a comparison because I don't see it as really a parallel track at all. And it really concerns me. And I'm serious, when you look at the people who are on the planning commission now and the different capacities they're in, we already have, you know, the diversity argument doesn't hold any water with me because there already is a very diverse group of people in there. And a lot of them are in the, you know, in one fashion or another are in the development sector. So I'd like to see somebody entirely outside of that coming into the planning commission, someone with a different point of view, not a development point of view, not a, you know, I think that would be a lot more helpful.
I too have very mixed feelings. I believe in trusting people and I think that we should see if it works out, and if it doesn't, deal with it at that time.
How are you going to know if it works out?
I think the planning commission will hold him accountable. I think our city definitely holds our citizens accountable that are on our committees and on our councils, and the city staff. If Mr. Olaf starts coming in with all sorts of proposals, I would hope that he would step down from the planning commission. I mean, I think it's really hard to predict what's going to happen in the future.
I don't know why you should set yourself up for that possibility to begin with on something as important as the planning commission. Just think it's a huge mistake. I really do.
For a motion. I move to appoint Jay Orloff to the planning commission beginning immediately.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Jen.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Council President McCarthy,
Yes,
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Counselor Kerr,
No,
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay,
Jay.
thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
I'm trusting you, so,
You'll be watching.
and we'll all be watching, you know that.
no, he's,
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have consideration of adopting the Tourism and Arts Fund Award recommendations for fiscal year 24-25. I see a number of Tourism and Arts Commission people in the audience. Are we gonna have one spokesperson, or do you all want to come up?
I told them they didn't actually have to speak if they, unless you guys.
We were expecting it. Let's have somebody come up just in case there's questions, and if they're not, then you can run back to your safe chair. Okay. First off, I would like to,
Misery loves company, come on.
they're right behind you. Yeah. So first off, I would like to say I listened to all of your meetings and I appreciated the discussions that you had and the deliberations and the direction that you're going with your projects. And I think you did a great job
Thank you.
of analyzing.
Appreciate that.
Was it-
Lots of good conversation,
Yes,
for sure.
some of them in a very small room.
Yeah, hot room.
Yes.
It's hot up here all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
I guess maybe I forgot. Pending status on Sea Turtles Forever.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I didn't forget.
At our last meeting, Mark was planning to attend, but was not able. We had asked for further information with bullet points. And he was to come to that meeting and that fell through. So he's contacted Jennifer in regards to our next meeting, which is on the 26th. And so right now, we're just kind of in a pending hold on that because as a group, until we analyze the possibility of having it be a shoulder season event type situation that fit our format.
So what, if we approved this, are we approving it?
0 for him right now.
And if you do decide to award, they would come back. and
Yeah.
ask.
We'll come back with a recommendation.
Separate.
Yeah. So right now, he's at a 0.
And is he committed to attending the August 26th meeting?
He told me in an email he would attend.
Okay.
And provide information ahead of the meeting.
Do we have any idea what Operation Dragonfire is?
It's the beach cleanup at Will Park.
Yeah, the microplastics.
Okay, so it's basically
Yes.
he's just put a name to it now?
I believe well, I don't know if that name has been used previously, but
The answer is yes, he put a name to it.
Okay.
Make it more of an event.
You had a couple of others that were pending too, didn't you? Was it the Maker's Map and?
no, makers, we had, and I'm sorry, I don't have the financials in front of me. I left them back there, but we did have an amount for that. The only one that we didn't had a pending on the sea turtles and then the X-ray radio, we felt as a group did not meet our requirements, so. And Ashley, yes. So. Other than that, there was voting for the other funding.
Well, thank you for your work on this.
You're welcome.
I move to adopt the fiscal year 2024-25 Tourism and Arts Fund grant awards as presented.
A second?
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Counselor Kern,
Yes,
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Council President McCarthy,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
You?
Thank you, committee members.
Yeah.
In the audience. And we'll look forward to hearing about Operation Dragonfire. Okay, next we have the scope of review determination for Stromstad appeal of a planning commission decision. Deny a variance setback requirement requests. Steve?
Mayor, Council, good evening. What we're taking a look at tonight is a scope of review, and at the June 27th meeting, the Planning Commission rendered a decision to deny Josiah Stromstad a variance to a setback application to reduce the required front yard setback to construct a new second-story deck on the front of their single-family home located at 3747 West Chinook. Mr. and Mrs. Stromstad requested review of the decision in an appeal application received within the 14-day appeal period. The applicant has requested the matter be reviewed on specific issues. In my staff report, I put de novo, but it is on specific issues. And basically what we can do is we don't have to have an open de novo hearing. It's just something where it can, where the applicants requested to admit additional testimony and evidence. And basically what that was, that evidence that they're looking to submit is a site plan that better shows everyone the requested setback. That information was not part of the original packet that was submitted to the Plan Commission. So a lot of times the council has elected to move forward with an on the record appeal. In this particular instance, they're asking to add additional evidence on the specific issue, which is the site plan, and staff did not object to that request. So what the recommendation is to allow, it would be, it wouldn't be a full on de novo hearing. It would be specifically, and that site plan was just incorporated into the packet. But I think there was a lot of confusion that we didn't have the specific information, and there was some kind of a lot of discussion on that. And I think this would be very helpful when the council makes their decision.
Anyone have questions?
Are all of the letters from neighbors supporting this? That's all on the record.
I think if you wanted, we could include that. It was part of the application. I know there were several letters that were incorporated in the initial application. But if we, if it came right down to it, that's evidence that could also be included is the letters in the application. So it might be just those letters and that site plan. I know several people had included them. I didn't get a chance to review it compared to Plan Commission letters.
So the letters that are in our packet would be part, that are in our packet tonight would be part of.
Right, yep, yep. So that if you wanted, basically what we could do is just say the evidence located in the application packet, because that would include the letters and the site plan.
The application packet is the application for the council review.
Right, the appeal application and as well as all the information that was part of the record before the Plan Commission.
Just to make clear, any future letters that come in, will be included when it goes to public hearing. Because that's their version of testimony, is sharing their thoughts.
Not if we have a hearing, or if there's not a formal hearing, it would just be strictly on the record of the Plan Commission's request. Or record. Because the record wouldn't be formally open to allow for additional, only if it was de novo could people submit new evidence, which would include letters.
But they can submit a letter as long as it doesn't include new evidence.
That's correct. Yes, if it's related to what was in the record, yes, that's true.
Because there has been another letter that came in after this went out.
Like in the Burton matter, we had letters and information that were coming in that weren't part of the record at all. And that information was struck.
Steve, so the site plans that are in our packet, are those the revised?
Those weren't part of the submittal to Plan Commission. There was some plans of the deck framing, there were photos. And this is the information I think that led to the confusion that the applicant wants when they say they want to add additional testimony or evidence. Those site plans are specifically what they want to get entered in for council to review.
Okay, thanks for making that clear.
Then why are they in our packet then? We haven't decided yet if we're going to review them.
They were part of the application and I included the application as part of the packet information to you.
That this wasn't part of what the Planning Commission saw, those drawings.
They weren't, but this was the application that was appeal. This was part of the appeal application. So at this point in time, that information was included. And if it comes down to it, that we were doing it on the record, a lot of that information would be struck and not allowed for additional testimony.
Unseen.
It's one of those ones that I got the application. Typically, when we get the application, we include that information in the packet that goes to you. But you're correct.
If we changed our mind and said, no, we want it just strictly on the record, not with any site plan, we've already seen the site plan, so we can't unsee it.
You'd have,
I understand that. I don't know what to tell you on that.
have to unsee it.
And in my mind, without the site plan, you're gonna have a lengthy discussion as we did at Plan Commission.
I'm open to having a hearing, addressing the specific issue, allowing a more defined site plan.
I agree.
Just that. Yeah. But I would ask that everyone, if you haven't already, to make a site visit. That's constructive.
Everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what we agreed to?
I'll state this and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds to me like we're gonna use the record and allow for the additional site plan evidence to be considered.
Yes.
Only that site plan.
Okay.
Do we have to vote for it?
Yep. No, okay. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that's September 3rd, I believe, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's,
Early part of September.
yeah, the hearing notice is about tomorrow.
Yeah, it said September 3rd. Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda. Next on the agenda, we have the Heritage Tree recommendation. We have Trevor here. We have several members of the Parks Committee. Anybody coming up to support Trevor? I know you don't have a vest, but.
I can get you one. I got lots of them in my office. And I think we have Anita online too. I think I saw her up there. Yep, she's on there. Yeah.
So Anita, make sure if you want to say anything that you raise your hand. Okay,
We got a fun one here. So
okay.
good evening, Mayor and Council. A little background on this recommendation. The city established a tree board as part of the Parks and Communities Services Committee to recommend specific trees within Cannon Beach to the city council for recognition as heritage tree because of their size, age, historical significance, and other salient characteristics. June 20th Parks and Community Service Committee meeting, members reviewed the arborist report and unanimously moved to approve the nomination and submit it to city council. Some analysis and information on this. Jeff Gearhart, our city arborist, I'm sure you guys all know who he is, evaluated a heritage tree nominee located in the city main park. After a visual inspection by our city arborist, he endorsed this tree for heritage status. The tree nominated in the city main park is a native Sitka spruce. I'm sure you guys have all seen it. Per our city arborist, the tree is 50 inches in diameter and approximately 75 feet tall. The tree's estimated age is to be more than 100 years old. Should council approve the nomination, the tree will be added to the official list of Cannon Beach heritage trees on the city's website. And this will be our first heritage tree for this program. Recommendation, staff and Parks Committee recommended council to consider the proposed nominated heritage tree from the arborist report to be approved. Any questions?
I move to approve the heritage tree nomination and make it a heritage tree.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Council President McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Counselor Kirk,
Yes.
Counselor Ogilvy.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. So I'd like to say congratulations.
That's big. It's a big step for us. Yeah. It's a cool tree. Check it out.
You found a tree older than me, so.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have water resiliency phase 2 water line replacement construction bid award. And Karen?
Thank you. Didn't you ever do a great job?
You did a great job.
All right. Background, phase 2 water line replacement of the water resiliency project is funded by a favorable term loan from Business Oregon with resulting engineering firm Windsor Engineers, who estimate the project's value at 3.4 million. The city advertised an invitation to bid on the construction element of this phase beginning in late June 2024. The city received 3 bids on July 31st, 2024. The apparent low bidder is Tapani Incorporated from Battleground, Washington, with a bid amount of $1,897,203.50. In accordance with the city ordinance, the city council must authorize contract awards for construction projects of this dollar amount. It is expected that the project will be completed by February 26th of 2026. Staff recommends the council authorize staff to award the contract to Tapani Incorporated.
So on attachment A, are those all the companies that responded to the bid and then 3 of them submit, or did they all submit?
The 3 that you see dollar amounts in, those are the ones that officially submitted.
Official, okay, great. That's what I,
Rest of them showed expressed interest,
Okay.
but didn't follow through with bids.
okay, thank you.
This project is fully funded by the Business Oregon grant
Is the 1% 30-year with a principal
at 30 years.
we've discussed, yes.
So this came in at 1.9. And the project is valued at 3.4.
Yes.
So what's the rest of the project?
So you have your design and engineering aspect in there as well as a contingency. The cost of advertising, and so on.
Okay.
So will it reach the 3.4 million mark then with all of those?
We're hoping to underrun that.
Yeah,
We always have a contingency and we always shoot to underrun.
so it's not just a 1.9 million.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
And that full 3.4 is funded by the grant.
Also includes your inflation factor. Remember, we started this almost 6 years ago. So
Any other questions for Karen?
No, it's great job.
Yep.
You know, it's been a lot of work. It's a lot of work getting bids and
you start moving dirt.
yeah, I know that. So been a great job.
Thank you.
I will move to approve the contract award to Tapani Inc. for the Water Resiliency Phase 2 water line replacement project.
Second?
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Council President McCarthy,
Yes,
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Counselor Kurt.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay, so next we are on the informational discussion items. Yeah, so monthly status report. Anybody have any questions or concerns?
I want to know what happened to the partridge in the pear tree.
It wasn't one.
She said here. She said one western gull, 2 brown pelicans, 4 common murres, but no partridge in pear tree.
Have to rewrite that Christmas.
Yeah.
I would like to point out the Haystack Rock Awareness Program stats. It looks like on the face of it that the June beach contacts were down from last year. However, there was fewer number of hours on the beach and there were fewer number of shifts, which may totally account for that. So
I think, is that just all accountable because of the daylight minus tides?
tides is a big part of it. And I think there may have been a couple canceled ones, but I don't know that for a fact. But I do know that there were different, the different tide thing accounts. If the low tide's at the middle of the night, then they don't have a shift. So.
Any other questions? Comments? No? Ready to go on? Okay, next we have mayor communications. I don't really have communications, but I have been busy attending some countywide events. I went to the Clatsop Community College is hiring a new president. So they had 2 finalists and they had 2 open sessions for people to come and meet the candidates and ask some questions. One is definitely had worked at Mount Hood Community College and has done lots of other things. And the other person was from the East Coast, but they both seem like viable candidates. Very, very interested in trying to engage the South County more. And that's a community college, and they had some great ideas for trying to keep our local high school students here for their first 2 years of college and moving on. So those were interesting. And then this afternoon, they had a ribbon cutting festivity for the Hawks Eye apartment complex in Seaside, which is the old Red Lion. It's being converted, and they had a couple of sample rooms for us to walk through and lots of speeches and I mean, it's amazing what we saw the inside of it when they were starting off the construction and they made holes in the walls and that kind of thing. And it's amazing what
do the rooms look like?
They look like, I said I could move here, but you're not a health worker. So they, they're, I mean, you walk in and I try to think this isn't a hotel anymore. They kind of reminded me of dorm rooms, but much nicer. And the lobby where there's conference rooms and things available, it's beautiful, nice colors and lots of excitement. So I think it's a major accomplishment and a good way to look at providing housing that's very much needed. So.
And you said 58 units?
58 units.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Will there be services on site?
Yes. Yeah, Clatsop behavioral health is a huge
Good.
part of
Okay.
the
That's
equation.
really important.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say. Anybody have any counselor news?
Coffee with the counselors on Monday.
And this Saturday is, I guess that'd be good of the order. Okay, anybody have anything for good of the order?
Yeah, I do. I would just like, I really was interested in Mr. Wade's comments that at the beginning of the meeting. I don't think we need to wait for a code audit to change, because really the code audit is not dealing with that kind of minutia. It's dealing with a whole larger framework. And I think we ought to really consider doing a ban on yard burning, on recreational fires, because what he said was, I mean, that's terrible to me, that people would have to be forced to breathe that smoke. And it is true that all the recreational fires that I've seen are in the rentals. So, and it really bothers me to think that residents are being impacted by that, negatively impacted by it. So I think we ought to put it on the agenda as an item to look at more closely.
So there's a difference between yard debris burning and I thought what he meant by recreational burning was
Fire
fire
pits.
pits.
Yeah, that's what
Right.
he's talking about.
Okay,
Yard debris burning, I don't see, I mean, there is a recycle center.
I know.
And
I
there,
didn't.
and there, why would you have to burn your
Yard debris.
garbage in your yard?
Yeah,
You know, it would be different if we didn't have a recycle center.
Right.
But we do.
Right.
So I don't understand why that has to happen either. So I think I'd like to see it put on the agenda with some
but
feedback.
I think they
from-
need to be two separate. Yard debris
That's fine. Yeah.
versus resident,
Res-
what do you call it?
Recreational burning.
Burning.
Yeah, because I mean, that's something we can actually take care of quite easily if we decide to do it as a group.
Okay,
Yeah, I was wondering how we were gonna handle that and not have it fall between the cracks. So I wouldn't
Right,
mind
so-
seeing it being on the agenda and
Yeah.
have a discussion.
How about September 10th?
Okay.
It's on it.
Whatever. Yeah. So,
okay. Anything else? Lisa?
no,
Okay, I just would like to remind everyone that trail cleaning is this Saturday at Sixth and Hemlock. Our final visit to that site. So 10 till noon, rain or shine. Rain or shine.
Can I talk about upcoming meetings for the rest of the month real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so we have, our next meeting is August 27th. We're gonna have the hearing for the Orford right-of-way encroachment and DRB appeal. So, in the minutes, because I haven't done those yet. So that's gonna be on Tuesday, the 27th. We have the 28th and 29th on hold. Tomorrow is the deadline for an appeal from a planning commission decision. And if that comes in, we will probably need to use one of those dates for
Okay.
scope of review. So I will know for sure tomorrow at the end of the day if it comes in, and then I will send an email out because that planning decision, we're getting close to the 120 day deadline. So if they do appeal it, it's gonna be one of those quick turnaround things.
Okay.
So what, we're only gonna need one of those two meetings right now?
So, yeah.
Okay,
But I need to go over the dates with Steve because there is a slight chance that even with that, well, I don't know, I have to count the 20-day hearing notice and figure out everything.
okay,
But we have a few meetings like early September. We have the 3rd, which is our regular meeting, and the 5th on hold. But we have to make sure you guys have enough time to hear it, approve findings, and but I want to say the deadline, the 120 day deadline's like September 20th or 25th. So if it is appealed, it is a quick turnaround. for that.
Okay.
So just a heads up, and I will email you guys. Tomorrow's Wednesday. They have till 5 o'clock, so I'll let you know for sure Thursday.
okay.
But otherwise, we'll see you on the 27th.
Okay. Anything else?
So our September, I've only got, I think, I only have one possible,
There's two possible.
is there two? Oh, okay, the 5th and the 17th, right? Okay.
Okay,
there might be others.
yeah, there might be others, but
Yeah.
right now it's, we got those 4 meetings. Yeah. Okay, anything else?